Maybe the longest tenure, but not the oldest.
Longest tenure.
Not the oldest. All right. It's good to be with everybody today, and thanks for coming out on Friday morning. It's an exciting time of year as we begin to crank up again with all the students coming back, and specifically our student athletes coming in as we begin 18 and 19. I think it's going to be a great season and on a lot of fronts for a lot of our teams. Excited about our football program and where we are, and looking forward to UK athletics as a whole, as I always do. We closed our year. Before we open up the conversation about this year, I want to look back a little bit what we did last year and some of the things we've got going on. We closed our year with the Big Blue Caravan, which was a special experience for a lot of us, honoring the deep ties we have with the people of the Commonwealth in our state. And so it was important for us to start in Marshall County, to show our support for the community that went through the tragic shooting of January. And it was an emotional time, but a really cool time, and we really enjoyed our time with those people and sharing time. Cal and Mark and a bunch of our athletes were out there with a bunch of our staff, and it was a great way to start the caravan, and we really, really enjoyed the time with those folks who were deeply impacted by those events. Closed it out in Pikeville the Friday at the end of the week. Had an opportunity to spend some time over there. My family and I, we were going to go on a take a couple of days off, and my daughter met me there with my grandchildren. We decided we'll let them play in the park a little bit at the end of the night before we threw them in the car and hope they fell asleep for part of the journey. And we ended up in a park and ended up helping celebrate a UK fan's 60th birthday party in the park, and we were there all together having birthday cake. But it reminded me of the tie we have to our people and how much fun it was. And so we were taking pictures and laughing, and they gave us cakes. We had dessert, which was wonderful. So, but it was pretty neat. Their tie to our program was immense and strong and really fun. So that was cool. We'll continue to do that. We'll change directions and go different parts of the state next year as we continue to branch out and just reach out to our folks and be a part of that. And so it was good for our staff and good for our student athletes and our coaches. So we had a good time. We're also blessed to have a great story to share. It's been a story of champions for this year. The past year we won a national championship. Harry Mullins and his rifle team won a national championship again, and really proud of the things they continue to do just to represent our program. Harry's a humble man and a guy who's been here an awfully long time, and he loves this place, and so proud of him and the way he conducts himself and his team. And so we're happy for their national championship and looking forward to what they do this year. We had an SEC regular season championship with Craig Skinner, and here's a guy who's been knocking on the door for a long time, and with some of his teams, and had a lot of moments. He broke through to the Elite Eight this year and won an SEC championship. Really proud of him, and know that was a big moment for some really, really great seniors we had in our program, notably Ashley Dusek, who was a Libero of the Year for a couple years in a row in our league, and with some young people that are now going to go on and play professional volleyball in different spots, and we wish them well, but happy for Craig and his staff as they continue to grow our program. And he has been remarkable in his tenure here. He's never been out of the NCAAs in his time at Kentucky, and so really proud of what he has done. We had an SEC tournament men's basketball championship again, 4 in a row. Continues to be a special time of year for our program as we work our way through March, and so we'll see if we can keep that run going as we go back to the tournament in March. I think it's in Nashville. Had individual champions crowned in rifle. National championship in rifle and individually, and then track and field as well. We had an opportunity to go to Eugene and watch several of our young people win national championships, and that was fun. Some incredible athletic performances, and if we're not paying attention, we miss those. And some remarkable athletes doing incredible things, and that was fun to be out there with them over a period of 3 or 4 days and to watch them compete. And so many of them going on to do some things internationally, and then that also, we saw the transition in our track coaching staff and brought in Lonnie Green, which you met Lonnie about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So a great guy, and we're looking forward to what he will do in our track and continue to grow our track and field program. Academically, our student athletes continue to achieve at a high level. We achieved our 11th and 12th semesters in a row with a 3.0 GPA or better. Nearly 100 Wildcats graduated this year, including one in Oliver White, who came back to earn his degree after 3 decades of playing football at the University of Kentucky. It was a great story, and happy for Oliver, but it continues to tell the story of bringing people back to get their degrees, and we've had that happen every year. Folks are coming back and working their way through their academics to get degrees, and we've got that lifelong scholarship, and we want people to come back after they've journeyed out, come back. We make sure that we get that done, and they have an opportunity to do that. In that transition, Bob Bradley, we've got a person on our staff who had been here for over 40 years, and want to thank him for his contributions to the University of Kentucky. One of the first people to ever get out and create an academic center. So he was the first, and created that, and has been an absolute foundational piece of our academic program for an awfully long time. And so he's retired, and I think on Monday he told me he's getting in the RV and headed to Montana for a while, and I think it's a heck of a trip, and a pretty cool deal. So I hope he has a great journey, and they have a great time, and he enjoys retirement. In his place, and as we change it up just a little bit, we want to take where we were and grow it a little bit. We've hired Jason Cummins on our staff. He's been consulting with our staff in our leadership development of our young people. He will now head up our student athlete experience, and we're changing just the way we frame it up just a little bit, so you won't notice a whole lot externally. Internally, it's a little bit of a change for us in how we're doing our work. And the goal is to do a couple things. One, academically stay strong where we've been, but also to grow that into making sure when they walk out of there with that degree that there's a career that waits for them on the other side when they do that. It's not just a piece of paper they walk out with. They walk out with a plan and how they can get to the right spot in their lives, and we set them up for careers and what that means in terms of connecting them up to people in the big blue community. So hopefully we'll work our way through that, and I think I'm looking forward to what Jason does in our program and what that means for Kentucky student athletes. We also had the pleasure of supporting some young men and women as he did some extraordinary things beyond the bounds of the term student athlete. I'm thinking specifically of Courtney Love and the winning of the Werfel Trophy, the Heisman Trophy for community service. And Courtney just was so generous with his time and the things that he did, and an incredible representative of what it does, what it means to go out and do work in the community. And we've had a lot of folks do that. We just brought back another probably 12 or 14 young people that went to Ethiopia. Again, we had 2 different trips to Ethiopia this year, and those folks went internationally again to do some work, and we have folks that do work all over the Commonwealth. And so we're going to focus on that specifically and continue to work extremely hard to do some things with our communities. We know that there's needs here at home, there's needs internationally, and sometimes it's those moments that teach you, what it needs to be a servant. And so we want to make sure that we're sacrificial in that, and our folks understand that. And we've got a lot of young people that are doing incredible work. And I'm not sure I was doing that when I was their age. And they see a need, and they're filling needs, and they're helping people. And Courtney was an incredible example of that. And to get that award with Danny Werfel and spending time with Danny up there with Courtney was pretty neat, and to watch the interaction between those two. And I give Mark Hill and Susan Lax a lot of credit. They worked really, really hard to make sure that there was opportunities for Courtney to understand how valuable he was to our community. He's done a lot of good things and some really cool work. All that serves as a reminder of why we do what we do, and of the things that we are at a core to our mission, honoring and deepening the connection we share with our state and our fans. Taking care of our young people, absolutely core to who we are. Graduating young people, really important. Competing at a high level, incredibly important. And doing it all with honor, representing the state the way it deserves to be represented. And we want to make sure that we do that with class and with honor. And it's easy to get distracted and focus on things that aren't important. And I will tell you, we don't let that happen inside the walls of our offices. We don't. We're going to focus on things that are important to who we are. We're going to continue to do that. That's what we will be. With that, we've got a lot going on, just a ton going on, even we prepare. You'll hear some things going on in the upper deck of the stadium. We've got some new bleacher backs going on as we continue to try and finish that project out as we go. There'll be a couple sections. We've added 4 more sections of bleacher backs to the stadium this year. We got the baseball stadium that's going up. You'll go by the baseball construction. It's impressive. We hope to be in that stadium probably mid-late September in total. We may move in bits and pieces with coaches and then the team, and then actually being on the field probably mid-September-ish. So we're hopeful of that as we continue to lean on Russ Perry a little bit, and I'll come back to that in just a second. The new video board, we announced that about a week ago, I think. The video board will be added to Memorial Coliseum as we continue to look at ways we get Memorial Coliseum sort of renovated and walk through that process. We've had the feasibility study, which has been out there. The video board will begin, it'll probably be ready mid-October. We're hopeful that'll be the date when it's ready. We'll have to do some auxiliary things in the meantime with our volleyball team as we get in there in the fall competitions. Coaches are excited about it. It's a massive amount of scoreboard. We think it'll be really a dynamic piece as we begin that process. The old scoreboard has been in there for, I think, 14 or 15 years. We're sort of out of parts. So it was time to get that fixed and replace it. And so that'll be another project we've got on the books. That'll hopefully be ready mid-October. All that lead me to say, and we will give him his due when it comes around, but Russ Perry is also retiring. At the close of the baseball project, I told him. So he gets to stay till he completes that project, or he will stay, I hope, until he completes the baseball project and we get in that thing. Russ has been an unbelievable, again, servant to this university for almost 40 years, maybe 40, I'm not sure, but has been all over this campus and is well respected and done a remarkable job with our physical plant. So we're so appreciative of what he's done and want to wish him well, and I do that publicly. We'll do that privately, and we'll honor him the right way as we thank him for all he's done for the University of Kentucky. And then we've got a capital campaign we'll be launching as a part of the university's capital campaign in September, which will be vital to us laying a solid foundation and then for the future as we look to the things still to do that we have out there. And there are things that will always pop up, and then we'll cycle back around and have to continue to work our way through maintenance, operations, and continuing to renovate and make sure we're updating and staying current with what's going on, the needs of our student athletes as we continue to grow our program. So really, really important. And of course, all that gets us to the spot where it's football season. And I know that's why you're here today, and I know I'll let you get to that in here in a few minutes. And I'll close by saying how thankful Connie and I are to be at the University of Kentucky. We love this place. We've been here since year 17 for us. It's our home. We love the Southeastern Conference and the University of Kentucky, and it's a great place to be. And it's an honor to work with our president, Dr. Capilouto, and our commissioner, Greg Sankey. Greg's a dear friend. He and I have been at this thing a long time together. He's been in the league almost about as long as I've been the AD here at Kentucky. I've been in the league a lot longer than him in total, but he's a great friend, and I enjoy working side by side with him as we do things within the conference. So I'll stop there, and if you have questions, I'm glad to take those, and if not, we'll let you get to Coach Dukes, because I know that's who you really came to see. So,
for you, what does success in football season mean this year?
Yeah, I think that's the annual question, and I think that I always talk about improvement, and we've continued to make strides. And I was talking to someone the other day, and they said, I remember when I'd look at our team, I'd always think, gosh, we're undersized, and we're smaller than most SEC teams. And that same person said, boy, I came to walk through the football facility the other day, and we're big. We're a big group of guys. We got some big-time players and a big group. And so, no, who is that now? No, I'm just joking. But no, it's okay. We got a big group of guys. We look like an SEC football team. Our front lines on both sides of the ball are physical. They look physically big, like we belong in there. And I don't know that we've always had that kind of depth, so I'm hopeful that will help us as we sustain. We're going to sustain some injuries. You always do. In this league, that's part of it. But we want to continue. We would love, obviously, we want to take a step. We've been to 2 bowl games in a row. We'd like to get to that third bowl game. We'd like to win one of those and make some progress in that. It's important. That's what all of our folks want to see, and we understand that there's no one that doesn't slip up on anybody. To take a step in the SEC standings, to take a step in the postseason, all those things are important, and we understand that. But I look at our team and I look at the talent, talking to some of our coaches and talking to some people that follow our team from a the professional scouts that follow it. They say this is as good a group of students that we've had on our campus in a long time. And so I know these kids have worked awfully hard. We've watched them all summer. They look great. They have put in a lot of hard work, and I think they're ready to go. Schedule's always hard. It doesn't change. We're in the Southeastern Conference. That will not change. And so we'll load up and get going and see what happens.
Coach, I'm an old high school broadcaster from Eastern Kentucky. It so did me good to see this state championship come over here at Commonwealth Stadium, Kroger Field.
Yeah,
It was a great success.
I appreciate it. We enjoyed hosting it. It was we've enjoyed hosting the state championships on our campus. We think that's an important part of who we are, our connection to young people that are wanting to play games. We want to give them a place that they can dream to play in one day. So whether that's we've hosted, I think you look at I don't know the number. We host everything from tennis and track and field to football. We've obviously got the Sweet 16 here in town. I think that's important for a couple reasons. For the University of Kentucky to showcase that incredible campus that we've got. We've got an incredible campus now. If you haven't been through the Student Center, remarkable Student Center. To be able to walk through that and see the changes that have occurred on our campus, whether it's the dorm life, the facilities we've got on our campus, it's good for the city of Lexington. We bring people to the city and have an opportunity to showcase Lexington and for people to come and spend some time in our city. It's really, really important. But I think it's to make it a destination place for young people to want to come play college sports. If they're capable of playing the Southeastern Conference, we want them to understand what it looks like to play in our facilities. So we're excited and glad we get to do it and looking forward to doing it again.
Mitch, not only are you the longest serving SEC AD, but you're also the chair of the SEC ADs. From the perspective of that position, how do you think the current Kentucky football program stacks up to the others in the league, especially in regard to fan support from the administration?
Yeah, I think our support is fine. We, in terms of the things that we do to support football, I think that people always, they had questions. Were we committed? And I think we answered those questions a few years back. With the renovation of the stadium and the addition to the football complex and the way we've supported it in terms of staffing, I think we're in a good spot. We are an SEC school that looks like an SEC school, and we've got SEC students in our program. I think that that you still got to go win on the field, and that's part of it. And I was telling I've talked to our teams, all of our teams, not just football, but when it's a tough league, and you got to understand that when you get in it. This is not one of those things you get to take a day off, and you can't give a day away. And Coach Minge talks about that all the time. You cannot give a day away, and so I talk our folks, and have used that a little bit around the way. You just don't give a day away, and but I don't think my tenure as an AD has a whole lot of an impact on what we do from a football perspective, other than to say I've been around it long enough to know that. I think we're the best conference in America, competitively top to bottom. It is a really, really hard place to play, and but that also makes it a real honor to play in the league. And the friendships in the league are great. I have great friendships from an athletic director's perspective. I respect the guys in the league. We have a good fellowship, but also great competitiveness between us. And so I look forward to those days. And we shake hands beforehand, and we shake hands afterwards, and I think that's the way it should be. But I think that's the beauty of this league.
As this sports gambling legislation starts to come online state to state, how much does that change life for you, and how much concern do you have just on the big picture about traffic?
I think that there's been gambling on sports for a long time, Eric, to be real honest with you. Legal and illegal. This changes the game. I think that there's concern, to be honest with you, and I think in patience, moving cautiously into this area has a lot of merit. There's going to be a lot of conversations nationally about we must do these things to ensure. I think some of those things we've been doing on our own. I think there'll be some national governance in some way, that whether that comes from the NCAA or whether that comes from states or federal. There will be something that happens that gets hopefully some boundaries to all of that. To say there isn't concern, I think would be the wrong thing to say. I think we need to be really smart and understand that it puts pressures in some unique areas. And you talk about conversations about player availability, and you talk about injury reports and anything like that. There's all sorts of issues adjacent to that I think we need a real conversation. And to rush in and say that we're ready to take those on by August 31st, I'm not sure is the right thing. I think you might be making some mistakes and then having to go back and correct. Once the genie's out of the bottle, it's really hard to get it back in. So let's make sure that what we do with real intelligence and real pause, if you will. There's not 50 states legalizing gambling right now, and there's not. Obviously, there's some changes that have occurred. It's now different, but I think we need to be really cautious and not race to a new spot without real thought. Yeah, John.
Nationally, college football attendance has declined over the last few years.
Yeah.
How, just from a national perspective, how do you get that turned around?
Yeah, I think there's concerns. I mean, there's some programs that have had incredible success that are down in season tickets. There's two pieces to that. One, there's discretionary time and discretionary dollars for all fans for what they do. The other issue is the way people buy tickets in today's world. So with the way to buy the available tickets on secondary markets, people are making decisions to not have a season ticket and just say, I'll just go ahead and buy what's available from someone else that's not going and catch it on a secondary market. Well, that changes obviously the stable finances for programs that count on season tickets and that stability. Doesn't mean you can't sell the ticket, but it has to mean that you're selling it differently. So everyone's, I won't say freaking out, but they go, oh my gosh, season ticket numbers are down. They're sort of stagnant or down a lot of places, and that's not unusual. Again, there's programs that have had incredible success that are seeing numbers drop because the ticket buying mechanism for a lot of folks is different. Having said that, the game of football is also, we're broadcasting it in a lot of ways. You can catch games on TV. So we've got to give fans a reason to want to come to the game, whether it's an experience, a tailgate experience before the game where they can fellowship with their friends. When they get in there, it's a competitive, enjoyable environment where there's music, there's good play on the field, and that at the end of the day, there's a safe way to get home. Now, all those things are important. So if you're asking people to invest, 6-7 hours of a day, you got to make sure that you do it right. We also got to pay attention to the length of the game. The length of the game, what we're finding is people want to keep it in that 3-hour time frame. And if we can keep it in that time frame, the games can drift a little bit long. Some of the ways we play the game, those games are getting into, some of the games are 3.5, 4 hours. That's too long. We've got to find a way to make sure the game stays within a certain time frame. And we know that fans want that. We get that in response. If you look at some of the popular sports that are out there in terms of television and what people are watching, it is length of game. It matters. And softball, I'll use softball as an example. It is it's one of the fastest growing sports on television. Why? Because the game is 2 hours and you can almost book it. You can book it, it's under 2 hours. And so, sometimes those baseball games can go 3.5, and 4 hours, and fans are turning it off after about 2. So we know that the watching span, or the attention span, if you will, sometimes has to be, we got to understand that. And we got to pay attention to all the things in the fan experience and make sure that we're understanding the discretionary dollars and discretionary time of our fan base is changing. And then at the end of the day, not only do you have to you have to provide a really good product on the field, but at the end of the day, you also have to be cognizant of those other pieces.
Folks, thank you very much. We
Yep,
appreciate
thanks, John.